Hey everybody, my name is Professor Fredericks. I'm one of the new faculty coming into Grand Valley this fall. I'll be doing some of the software engineering courses if you want to join. That would be lots of fun. But what I wanted to show you today was something kind of interesting that I've been working on this summer, a little bit last year, and it's something you can do at home too if you get a little bit of extra hardware basically. So what I've got here, this is a Raspberry Pi, so it's a Pi 3. Newer one's the Pi 4. It's a little bit faster. I'd recommend if you want to go with something a little bit speedier, but this guy works just fine. It's basically just a Linux microcomputer, so treat it like any other Linux machine. You can even put Windows on if you're um, looking to be a little bit slower here. But anyway, what we have is it runs off of a micro SD card. So you have standard micro SD, however big you want to put in there. You have GPIO breakouts if you want to do some wiring. We have some USB ports, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, HDMI, so all of your kind of standard computer modules that you would have, plus a little bit of extra hardware here on top. So this extra board, which you may or may not be familiar with, this is a Sense hat. So basically just kind of sits on top of the board. You get a LED matrix, multicolor. We have a little joystick here, some sensors, which we'll talk about as well. Kind of show you what we're doing here. So this screen that I've got in the background here, so this is just an SSH session, like you would normally connect to a remote machine. I can play Conway's Game of Life on the LED matrix. Probably kind of hard to see on the camera with the refresh rate, but basically you have a little cellular automata there trying to live and die, which is kind of fun if you want to get into some of the more fun things. What we actually want to do here is we want to take this guy and hook it into Unity, which if you're a video game developer or maybe some kind of a graphics programmer, you are probably familiar with Unity. Highly recommend it if you want to get into graphics programming, game programming. Also kind of a nice plug for them. They made all of their learning content completely free, which you used to have to pay for. They have lots of great stuff up there. If you want to get started, highly recommend it. So what I'm going to do here is very, very minimal. What I'm going to do is I have a little Python script that I wrote where basically this guy is going to blast out orientation data to some remote device. Now, if you've taken networking before, I'm blasting it out with UDP packets, a lot faster than TCP. I assume if you take a networking class, you'll learn all about that. But UDP, good for speed, good for game programming. And what this is going to do is it's just going to run. So you can kind of see here, I've got the IP address of my computer, a port, and this thing is just going to run. So we're going to let it go. It basically creates a socket. Now we go over here to Unity, and pretty bare bones. We don't see anything. I've got a script here, which is basically going to handle communication from the Pi, and it's going to take the orientation data from this thing, and it's going to translate it into the screen that we see here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click play, and we'll talk about this in a minute. What we have is a little real-time, mostly real-time interface for controlling an object. So you could fake this with a joystick or a mouse or a keyboard if you want, but what we're really doing is we're taking the gyro data, magnetometer data, and accelerometer data from this nice little sense hat here, and just translating it into what we see on the screen. I could take this, turn it into a marble maze, anything with any kind of rotational controls. Not very hard to get up and running. Again, microcomputers fairly cheap if you want to start playing with them. Unity is absolutely free. I just have some cubes that I've turned into rectangles here on the screen to make it kind of look like the Pi, so I know what I'm doing here in terms of orientation and all that. But basically you have a nifty little project which you could play with and take basically wherever you want. So to kind of give you a little bit more detail here, again, this is Unity. So I've got kind of my play area here. I've got a canvas. I've got a cube, which kind of gets spawned in later. The sphere gets spawned in later. Scripts are all written in C# for Unity. So if you are a Windows developer, C# should be familiar with. If you're a Mac or a Linux user, Mono works basically just as well here. So MonoDevelop would replace Visual Studio. But overall, you have kind of a fun little project which you could, again, you could take and do whatever you want with. Possibilities for the Pi, quite limitless in my opinion. Again, it runs Linux, so you can do whatever you want on this thing. Run C++ programs, Python, Java, sky's effectively the limit. Baseboard for a Pi is roughly 35 bucks, so really not all that much. Some of the extra add-ons start to bring the cost up a little bit more, but overall, kind of a fun little project. And what I will do is I've actually put the code for this project up on GitHub, so hopefully the links will be in the description for this if you want to see that. But anyway, look forward to seeing you in the fall. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions about this kind of a thing, and I will see you all soon.